so today we are starting 3.1, Intro to Inequality. An inequality is a solution set that makes the inequality true. So a solution set is a group of numbers that anything, instead of one single answer, it's a big group of numbers. All right. So some signs that I know you guys already know. We have this one is the less than sign, or sorry, is less than. This one, of course, is oops, there we go, is less than or equal to. That one is greater than. And of course, the fourth one is greater than or equal to. We can represent their solution sets in two different ways. One way to represent the solution set. We can do it by graphing. And when we graph an inequality, that goes on the number line. Or the second way, which we're going to introduce today, which is called interval notation. All right, so let's start with the graphing, which you guys already know, so this should be super easy, right? All right, when we talk about graphing inequalities, do you want me to go back? You got it. There you are. You're welcome. All right, when we talk about graphing inequalities, we use a number line. Use a number line. All right. First step is you need to have your variable. Need variable on the left. I'm always going to have you write your variable on the left-hand side. Okay? If your variable is on the left-hand side, the step 2 would be an open dot for less than or greater than. It would be a closed dot for less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. And then step 3, you draw an arrow. In the direction of the solution set. All right, so I want to give you 4 examples. Hit all 4 of those, right? If I have x is less than 4 on my number line, I'm going to ask you to have at 4. This is a less than, so it is an open dot. Then we're going to draw an arrow in the direction of the solution set. Now it says x is less than 4, so it is everything this direction. Now you'll notice your arrowhead is exactly the same as your inequality sign. If I have W is greater than 7, on my number line at 7, I have, because it's greater than, I have an open dot. This says W is bigger than or greater than 7, so my arrow would go to the right. But what do you notice about that arrow? It is exactly the same as our inequality sign. Makes sense, right? Let's say I have A is less than or equal to 2 on my number line. At 2, this time because it is less than or equal to, we have a closed dot, filled in dot at 2. And it goes to the left. And again, my arrow is the same direction as my inequality sign. And last one, we're going to say K is greater than or equal to 5. So on my number line at 5. Again, because it's greater than or equal to, I have a closed or filled in dot. And it goes to the right. And again, you'll notice my arrow is the same direction as my inequality. My inequality points the way it's going. So this part's super easy, right? Let's get to the new stuff. What do you think? The second way we represent solution sets is by what we call interval notation. This should be something new to you. Interval notation is something we are going to use for the rest of math until you graduate or beyond. If you have an open dot, means you use a parenthesis. If you have a closed dot, then you use a square bracket at that point. And interval notation tells you what the interval is with all your solutions. Okay, so for example, if I have, let's say, x is greater than or equal to 4. On my number line at 4, do I have an open or closed dot? Closed, very good. And this arrow goes to the right. If I was writing the interval notation to represent this, as I come, I have this first dot, it's closed, so that is a square bracket. It starts at the number 4, and this arrow goes all the way to where? Where does that arrow point to? Where does it go to? Infinity. So that's what we're going to write here, is infinity with a parenthesis, because you can never stop on infinity. A closed bracket means you stop on it and you include it. A parenthesis means that it goes up to that. On one side or the other, yes. For now. How about if I had A is less than or equal to 2? On my number line at 2, I would have a closed dot. And if it's less than, it points to the left. Less than left. Inequality sign, same as the arrow. Now this time, as I read it like a book, I come to my arrow first, which means I'm really starting at negative infinity and going to 2, and it's a closed dot with a bracket. Not so bad. No, it's kind of not. Let's say we have H is greater than 7. On a number line at 7, I would have an open dot, and this goes to the right. My interval notation. I come to this open dot first, which is a parenthesis, 7. And my arrow goes all the way to infinity with a parenthesis. And let's say we have W is less than -5. On my number line at -5, I have an open dot, and this goes to the left. My interval notation, maybe if I can move, there we go. My interval notation starts with the arrow, which means I'm starting at -infinity. I go to -5, and when it's an open dot, it's a parenthesis. All right, so here we go. Let's talk about what your problems look like on your worksheet. Are you ready? Example number 1. And this is what you are doing for 1 through 10. The directions are going to ask you to graph and write the interval notation. And let's say you get something that looks like this. Y is greater than or equal to 10. So on your number line, at the number 10, am I going to have an open or closed dot? Closed. Very good. It's a closed dot right here at 10. And which way is my arrow going to point? To the right. Very good. To the right. Again, you'll notice my arrow, my inequality, points the same. Now we have to write the interval notation. So as I read it like a book, I come to this closed dot first, which means a bracket at 10. And then it goes all the way to where the arrow is pointing, which is infinity with a parenthesis. So that is what you are doing for 1 through 10. Do you guys want another example? We're good with those? Okay. And example number 2. Let's change it up a little bit. Example number 2. This is going to cover the 11 through 16. 16. Right. The inequality and interval notation for the graph. All right, so this time you're going to be given a graph. And you have to write the inequality and the interval notation. So let's start with our inequality. You always start with a variable. Doesn't matter what your variable is. I'm going to pick X just because X. My arrow looks like that, which means that's my inequality sign. It is an open dot, so do I have to put the line underneath my inequality sign? Nope, good. And it stops at -3. So X is less than -3. Then I have to do the interval notation. When I'm reading it like a book, left to right, I come to the arrow first, which means I'm going to start with a parenthesis at -infinity. I go all the way to -3. I have an open dot, so do I want a parenthesis or do I want a bracket? Parenthesis. That's it. Easy? Any questions? You guys want another example of this? No. Okay, I want to make sure we've all got it. I only did 2 examples. Are you sure? Okay. Told you it was going to be super easy.